Hello, and a very good evening. This is indeed the watershed, a transformational encounter with global icons intended to leave an indelible progressive impact in your life forever. My name is Ike Aqua, and we're coming to you live on all our social media platforms at Aqua Ike. All of them, all social media platforms at Aqua Ike. And then you can also connect to me on YouTube at Ike Aqua. You can also engage us on my website, ikeaqua.com. You may also want to connect with the Pentecost International Worship Center, Kokonemle platforms. And we would, from the bottom of our heart and within our spirit, engage with you to the glory of God. Tonight is another amazing night, and I'm already excited because we're going to share from the heart of a man that has gone through the mills once again. Someone who has been tested and tried with all the challenges of this world, but has come up top by the grace of God and by dint of hard work. So once again, my name is Ike Aqua, and we are live on the watershed. May the gracious hand of the Lord come upon you, even as we go through this awesome session today. Joining us today is a great servant of God. And again, for the sake of those who are joining us for the first time, it's always important we give you the context of this session. And we normally engage global icons, people who have gone through various experiences in life and have maintained their faith and confidence in the Lord. And we engage them in their practical life experience. What have they gone through? If he's an MP, if he's a minister, if he's a lawyer, if he is a professor or a lecturer or a pastor, why is he still a Christian? Why is he serving God? What has God really done in his life? What is his testimony? And that is what we do at the watershed. So today we're going to have a servant of God who will share his true life story. What has God done in his life? For just about 10 to 15 minutes, he's going to share that story briefly. And after that, we'll have a whole session, an hour and over, to engage him. And that is where you have the opportunity to give us more lessons that he's learned in his life. And then you have all the opportunity to ask him all the questions on this planet. Of course, the ones he cannot answer, you hand over to Jesus for you. All right, so joining us this evening is a professor in academia. And when it comes to the things of God, he is an elder of the Church of Pentecost. From a very humble beginning in the 70s when he was born at Bantama, so he's a Kumasi guy. He went through the mills and then eventually ended up having a double master's of science from the International Institute of Geoinformation Science and Earth Observation. So we are safe. I'm sure he's going to observe the earth for us so that there will be no earthquake. And he amazingly, within a period of 2 years, and that one I would have to really ask him, was able to submit and defend his thesis from the University of Mines and Technology. You know that some Ghana universities, you have to spend years to be able to finish your PhD. But within that record time, this servant of God and hardworking gentleman was able to finish his thesis. And you know that he's noted to be the youngest professor. When I finished the university, I was boasting that I was the youngest graduate in Ghana. Somebody has beaten me. He's the youngest professor. At the age of 38, he became a professor. And he's worked in various fields and various committees, locally and internationally. Friends, folks, ladies and gentlemen, let me just inform you that he's a husband of one wife with two lovely kids, a boy and a girl. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to introduce to you Elder Professor Kumi Boateng Bernard Kumi Boateng. Prof, we are excited to have you, and may God richly bless you.
Amen.
All right. So, friends, that is Prof for you. Very soon, we would engage him, and he's going to share his art with us. And before we proceed, I just want you to hold your breath, even as we come back to you very, very soon. Just hold your breath, and we'll be with you soon. All right. We just needed to correct a few things on the net, and we're happy we're back with you. All right. So for those of you who have just joined, we're going to have an exciting time, and I want you to ask all the questions you have, and let us see what lessons we can learn from his life, what practical issues we can gain, and then what the story will be like. So, Prof, without wasting much time, in order to give you lots of time to be able to engage both locally and internationally, what is your story? Why are you a whole professor? The last time I came to your church, I was amazed with the way you were dancing all over the place, rejoicing, and I wonder how can a professor have so much craziness towards God and be so all out there mad for the Lord Jesus Christ? What is your story? Why should anybody like you give his life to Jesus Christ?
Thank you, Papa. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for the opportunity to share a humble story with you and with your world audience. I must say that my life is a miracle. It is a miracle for two reasons. One, I don't deserve to be where I am, but for Christ. And for any young person listening to me now who do not believe in the existence of God and that we have a Savior called Jesus, I want that person to, within these few minutes, listen to my story and judge for yourself whether indeed there is God. Once you look at my story, you hear my story, then judge for yourself whether there is God. I was born in Bantama, as you rightly said, on 15th June 1978. I was born into a family of 6 children. I am the 5th born. I grew up not knowing who my father is, and at the time we were told my father was nowhere to be found. Whilst in Bantama, my mother fell sick, had diabetes, became blind, and became bedridden. And that was when the 6 of us had to take life into our own hands and fend for ourselves. At the time, I didn't know Christ. I was born in Bantama, a place we call Abonsemjin, and we didn't know Christ. My mother had fallen ill, and there was no way we could fend for ourselves. So we took life into our own hands to fend for ourselves. And so I have a certain story that is already in the world out there, a toilet attendant turned professor. It was during those periods where I met a certain man by name Thousand Abiu, who was a toilet attendant. So I had to join him because my mother couldn't provide for the 6 of us. We were living in a very simple room, single room in Bantama, BA 144, for the 6 of us that were there. And so if you graduate, once the room becomes a bit uncomfortable, the seniors will take in turns to sleep on the veranda at the mercy of mosquitoes. And so I looked at this situation and I joined Thousand at the toilet where we could take, I would help him to work at the toilet. And so he trained me. I became his direct apprentice, senior apprentice over there. And then I joined him. We worked for a while. During that period, I had to also join a certain woman by name Obaya at PZ to sell second-hand shoes, just to fend for myself. From there, there was this cripple at our place called Kebobo. He called me today. I said that God used him to change the direction of my life. He called me and told me that they've heard that my father is in Tamale and that if I could go to Tamale and join him. And so around 1994, late 93, 94, I went to Tamale, and that was the time the Concomba War was fiercely in progress. I went there, I got there and received the shock of my life. My father was a lotto attendant, somebody who was going there to be with him and probably take advantage and school. Because my seniors, my siblings have not been able to go to school. And I am the first in my family to go to secondary school. But among my siblings, I am the one to have even finished junior high school. And so when I got there, my father was in a single room selling lotto, and I almost gave up. But again, God found a way to bring me back. My father had a friend, and that friend was the accountant of a school in Tamale, Zodwele Block A. He faked a receipt for me because my father could not afford to pay the admission fee. So he faked the receipt for me so that I could show that receipt every time the headmistress was around. And so I started school. Then there was this woman, a man and a wife that immense in Tamale. They also, the man gave me his blue shirt, and so I used his blue shirt, and then he had some khaki trouser. I gave it to a tailor, and then I got some shorts out of it to start my JSS over there. Even though I had finished JSS in Bantima, that is St. Anthony, but when I got there and the Concomba War was there, I couldn't go back to secondary school, so I had to start from JHS2 at the time. And so from there, by the grace of God, I passed my BEC, and it was time for me to go to secondary school. The man was not working. He was in a lotto kiosk. He could not afford, but I had gotten admission, boarding house, but because he couldn't afford, I had to go day, and I had to walk from my house to Tamale Secondary School. Until second year, I got support from other few people, and then I went into boarding house. I never went to boarding house the normal way every normal kid will go to school, where parents will send you to secondary school. No, I will pick a taxi right in front of our house in Tamale, very close to the STC, to Chogo. And then at Chow, I will go a day before reopening. Because if I go the normal day, I can't afford a taxi straight to the school. And so I go a day before reopening around 7 p.m. So I will carry my chop box and my mayeye bag on my head and walk through some footpath, bush, and settle. So all my friends will come and meet me at school. And I never went to secondary school with shit or with any provision. I just go like that. And at the time, I thank God I did not see that to be a problem, because I was coming from Abunsam Gym in Bantima, and now I'm in Tamale, I'm going to school. I was told there is feeding at the dining hall, so I wasn't bothered about it. So I never went to school with some of these provisions that today most of these kids go to secondary school with, because my father couldn't afford. My father will only give me lorry fare to go up to the chow, carry my things on my head, go to school, and keep the rest in my pocket, so that when we vacate, I'll wait for all of them to leave, and then in the cover of the night, I carry my things on my head. I had only a chop box and a Maye bag, which my father gave me, carry it on my head, get to the station, and then I take a normal taxi back home. Once in Tamale Secondary School, I joined Scripture Union. It was at one of those prayer meetings. Then a prophecy came that I have been cursed, our family have been cursed, and that it was my father's sibling sister who cursed my father, that none of his children would go past those days, standard 7. So immediately when I came home, I asked my father, and my father told me, indeed, the sister cursed him that if he fails to take care of her siblings, then none of my father's children will go past that. My father gave birth to 20 children, and none of them could progress to beyond the standard 7, what I will probably call now probably the JSS. None of them. And so it was like a generational curse that was placed on us, and the woman have died and left us. And my siblings couldn't go to school. None of them could fend for themselves at the time, or even have direction to go to school. So that was the beginning of my walk with God. And so when that prophecy came, and I went home, asked my father, and he confirmed that it is a prophecy, I knew that if I do not get myself involved in the things of God, I will be finished. And so that was when I joined Scripture Union. By the grace of God, we were on fire there. I became the Scripture Union president in Tamale Secondary School. And then I met a very good friend. Mostly when I also went to Tamale, my father was in a single room, too small to contain the two of us. And so I'll have to sleep in the open. And Apostle, you have lived in Tamale. You know how hot the place is. So in the night, around 6 p.m., I'll have to pour water on the floor so that the heat will evaporate. Then I'll place my mat on the floor and sleep at the mercy of the mosquitoes. So one of these days, a friend of mine called Paul Napari from the Baptist Church, First Baptist Church, visited and saw me sleeping in the open. He also didn't have, but he had a single room. He took me with him. I stayed with him. And so anytime I vacate from the secondary school, I go to stay with him, and I joined his church. That is the First Baptist Church. And we began working for God. By the grace of God, I passed my secondary school examination, and then I got admission to the then KNUST School of Mines to read geomatic engineering. Other people call that geodetic, or simply the surveying program. So I came to Takwa to start my education. When I came to Takwa, the Baptist church was a bit far from me. And in secondary school, I also admired a certain lady who was in the Church of Pentecost. So I decided to join Pensa. Because of the A attached to them, they convinced me that the A is for associate and that it doesn't matter where you come from. And so I joined Pensa in the university. And from there, I never returned. I was mostly going to Pensa. Whenever I go home, I join Baptist anyway. So after secondary school and by the grace of, after the university, by the grace of God, Professor Andam brought some level of scholarship to train young graduates from BSc straight to PhD. And so UMAT at the time was part of KNUST. And so we're selected, we are about 10 that were selected for the program. When we were selected, I was fortunate to earn a scholarship to go to the Netherlands to do a double master's between KNUST and the Dutch Institute. And so I did this double master's and I finished by 2000.
You mean you did the double master's at the same time?
At the same time, yes, at the same time. I did it at the same time. So I finished 2007. I finished ahead of my classmates. I think it is just by the grace of God. God has been so kind and good to me. I finished way ahead of my friends and then immediately came to UMAT and then started as a lecturer in the year 2007. And so whilst here, within a year from 2007 to 2008, I got married to the lady I said I admired in secondary school, but I couldn't tell her. She was in the Church of Pentecost, so I gathered courage after so many years to tell her. And even at a point when I said it and she said she would think about it, I called her again. I said, oh no, don't think about it. I said it, but I'm reversing it because I could not wait for her answer whether it was going to be yes or no. Fortunately, she accepted, and so we got married. That was in 2008 when we got married. There was one unique thing that I saw from the Church of Pentecost, but I was still with the Baptists, even though I've had the taste of the Pensa system. There was this unique thing I saw about her and the family. The father was a presiding elder at the Chronum Assembly. The mother was a deaconess. And so I was going into a typical Church of Pentecost home. We have done, that was the time this policy had come, that once you have the engagement, you have to wait for a certain period, I think 21 days or so, before you could do the wedding. And you know, I'm a Bantam boy, even though I'm with Christ, but once I had performed the traditional marriage, I thought she was my wife. So we were to go to Tamale to introduce ourselves to the First Baptist Church. I was shocked that they added the junior sister to us. By the time I got to Tamale with STC bus, they had arranged with deaconesses from Tamale at the STC bus station to hook her away. And they told me on Sunday they will bring her for the introduction at the church. that was the shock of my life. That how can church, so it, you know, growing up we saw the Church of Pentecost to be too weird. How could you do this to me? Because I had arranged with that my friend, that the friend who took me from the open in Tamale to give me a place to sleep, that, look, I am coming with my would-be wife, so make an arrangement for us and all that.
And by this time, you had already done the engagement? Is that what you say?
Yes, we have done the engagement. And traditionally, she is my wife. How do you add the kid sister to us in the bus? Then you arrange with deaconesses in Tamale to come for her. And it was strange. It was really strange. I never understood it until now. And so we went through the motion, but I realized that my late in-law, unfortunately, I've lost both of them. I realized they were not happy I was taking their daughter to the Baptist church. And so she spoke to me again. She evangelized to me again and told me that I should go and taste the Church of Pentecost, and then for at least a month and come back and talk to her. In fact, because of my Pensa background, I immediately joined the PIWC Takwa. And by the grace of God, that was also again the beginning of the turnaround for my life. Ever since I joined the Church of Pentecost, God has blessed me from one level to another level. And in a record time of 4 years, it doesn't, you won't have that happening. In a record year of 4, God blessed me and I became a senior lecturer in a record time of 4 years. It became news on campus. A lot of people felt this is unbelievable. There must be some people who are pushing this young man. But I knew what I was doing, because my favorite quotation is Jeremiah 29 verse 11, that I know the plans that I have towards you, that God is going to place me at a certain expected end. So all my project work, my thesis, I have that quotation right there. I don't joke with it, because when God says that he's going to set a table before you of a truth, he will. And so that happened. And then within 2 years, I finished the PhD, because at the time, the government wanted a GET fund. Instead of going to outside for your PhD, government had set up this Get Fund and was providing funding for the Ghanaian universities for us to have our PhD. So again, by the grace of God, in a record time of 2 years, I completed my PhD, submitted, defended, and I was drafted as the head of department. Again, the youngest head of department. It became news. People were talking about it, but I knew that the Bible said that the young boy Jesus grew in stature and in wisdom, having favor with God and man. And so I knew that if I keep my trust in the Lord, no matter what, God will carry me through. And so we were fortunate to do that. And that again was the beginning of the blessings to come. Finished the PhD. Then again, within 5 years, I applied to become an associate professor. And by the grace of God, I got that also, that promotion. And currently I am waiting for about 2 to 3 months, and I'll put in my final application as a full professor in the university. Through that, I have had the opportunity to serve on other boards. Currently, I review for the United Kingdom Newton's Prize. It's about £5 million fund that they give to scholars around the globe. So I review for them. There is a Carnegie African diaspora where they also give grants for other people to come. I have been on WAEC National Board for the past 10 years. I am also on the International Examinations Committee of WAEC, and at the West African level also I sit on that committee. I have been serving with the University of Gambia. There is only one university in the Gambia. I have been appointed as a visiting professor there, so I go from time to time. And I was fortunate, just right across the street, I saw a Church of Pentecost church there, and I could have worship even in Chi. And it was so amazing. They call it Ghana Town in Gambia. So if there are some Gambian folks listening, the Ghana Town Pentecost Church, when I was in, anytime I go to Gambia to teach, that is where I have my fellowship. So in Ghana, I have been helping Kumasi Technical University and then Takrady Technical University to support them to put some quality assurance manuals together. And here at UMAT, I have served as the chaplain for the university for a very long time, almost 5 to 7 years. Then I became the dean of students. I have served on a lot of committees, but all to the glory of God. And when it comes to the church also, I am, as you indicated, I am an elder. I was one time a district secretary to the old Pastor Miller, Steve Miller. I was his district secretary. I worked with him. He trained me very well. In fact, it was through him I became an elder of the church after joining. And currently I'm the assistant area youth leader for the Takwa area. And I serve on the political chamber of the youth. And so in brief, this is my life story. A young man who did not have hope, who was a toilet attendant, but God, through his own mercies, has brought me to this level that I have found myself. It is just by the grace of God, not any special intelligence, not any, I don't have any uniqueness. I was never first in my class. I was not at the top, but God, by his own mercies, has granted me this opportunity. So, Papa, if you ask me, that is a brief about myself and what God has done through many people to bring me to this level.
Interesting. And we thank God for your life. And when I was reading a bit, especially on your profile, and you said a toilet boy turned into professor, why that statement? What is it? What are you trying to communicate to somebody out there who today may be going through similar experiences? I mean, your story is something else. At that young age, the situation of your father, the situation of your mother, and then all that you've gone through. Why that reference to a toilet boy become professor?
Yeah, Baba, I chose that because toilet is something that we all don't want to be associated with. And I chose it purely for everyone to identify with me. That even if you are down there, if you are doing the most humiliating kind of business that you think it is not good, where all hope is lost, you are living in a state of despondency. Look at my story. Look at that toilet attendant.
Yeah.
That toilet boy that you go to pay the money to get your tea roll, to get your paper, to go over there, can rise to this level. Then it is the grace of God, nothing more. And so the motivation for that is for people to identify that it doesn't matter where you are, God can still do something through you.
God can still do something. And I'm sure for those our brothers who are connecting maybe from South Africa or from the US, Nana and Co, and who are born there, maybe wonder what is this toilet business? But I think it's synonymous to somebody who is like a street kid, someone who has no hope, who maybe is perhaps in his or her mind doomed to failure. But the point you're trying to communicate is that no matter your background, Jesus can make the difference. Is that right?
Exactly, Papa. Exactly. You don't need any certificate to start that one. It's purely street. And let me say this, there is money in that business.
Okay.
And so usually when the political power changes and you have these people fighting over it and people are condemned, I laugh because I know there is money in it, especially during the rush hours. There are 2 rush hours, morning and evening. And these are the times that we make our money. And yeah, so you see, once you are there is no motivation. You are not to do anything because you are making small monies there and there is no hope. I was living in Bantama, no hope, absolutely no hope. Even though Kompanochi was just some blocks away from us, there was no hope. And so, Papa, you put it right. You have no hope. No hope.
And God, obviously, Christ in us is the hope of glory. I pray that somebody listening to us today, listening to your story, that person may not necessarily be a very poor boy or may not be someone who lacks everything, but they may be struggling with drugs, may be struggling with a particular situation. The same message, I believe, applies. That no matter the difficulty of your life, Jesus can break through. And somebody may be very wealthy, may be very rich, but may not have peace of God in his or her heart. My prayer is that as you listen to this good professor's testimony, you may be a professor like him, you may be an intellectual, you may be a corporate leader, but the idea is that God is the God of all status of life and is able to change your story. Please, if you have not yet given your life to Jesus, this is the essence of all that we are doing. We are not just sharing stories and experiences and letting you just learn only lessons for this earth, but we want you to learn eternal lessons that will bless you on this earth and would also bless you into eternity. I will very soon allow my the audience to engage you, but just one more question. We have lots of questions here, but I'll just take 1 or 2 and then we'll give room for the others to make their input. I'm going through your narrative. It appears, not it appears, the reality is that there is some kind of meteoric blast in your life where things are so fast. Of course, a meteorite comes down, but within this context, you fly up so quickly, and that within 2 years, this, within 4 years, this, within... What is it? Will somebody say it's luck?
I don't want to... When you say luck, anytime I hear that it is luck, it is this, I get a bit upset because then you devalue the potency of God.
The potency of God.
Yes, because then how can this happen? How? I didn't know anyone. From Bantama to Tamale to Takwa, I did not know anyone. It is just the sheer grace of God. Nothing No mathematical formula, no psychological gymnastics can explain this. Even sometimes I'm amazed by myself as to how some of these things are happening. It is just by the grace of God. It is Jesus. I have known this Jesus, and ever since I gave my life to him, he is the reason. And this Jesus, you can be blind, but you can still see him. You can be deaf, but you can still hear him. You can be lame and still walk with him. You may be a leper, but you can still hold on to him. So, Papa, it is not luck. Jesus is real.
Great.
He is
amazing.
Real, and he is the reason.
Jesus is real. Now, in addition to the Jesus factor, is there any other role that you think you also play, which we must learn? And I'm asking this question within the context of, wow, okay, then I'm also going to just pray and believe that I'm also going to have a meteoric ride, fly in such an amazing speed in my life, and within 1 year, 2 years, I'll get there. And if within 1 year or 2 years, I don't get that same level of speed in my life, then I'm tempted to think that then it means that I am not a child of God. What would be your counsel within this context? First of all, whether you also did something, played a role. Of course, the ultimate is Christ, and that is clearly established by the passion with which you spoke. But was there a role you played? Secondly, what if I am also a Christian? I also have the same grace, but 5 years I started a PhD, I'm not going through. 10 years, I'm still struggling. Could it be because I'm a sinner? Or it means that I don't have the grace?
Not at all. Now, let me come to this. You see, I believe that to every success in God, there is a divine part, and then there is a physical part. When you look at the story of Jesus and Lazarus, when Jesus was called that his friend had died for some number of days, Jesus asked them to do something which in an academic parlance, we will think that it is stupid. It doesn't make sense. He was ready to raise Lazarus from death, but he was not ready to roll the stone. He asked them to roll the stone, which was a physical thing. Jesus was concentrating on the divine part. And so, having said that Jesus is the reason for the success story, there is a physical part which I embrace myself for. So, one, hard work. Hard work is a principle of work. It's a principle of life. And God, in his own infinite wisdom, ordered his creation. He created the plants before he created us. If he had created us first, how are we going to get oxygen? He created the water before the fishes. And so hard work. Within these 2 years of finishing the PhD, Papa, I never slept correctly for the 2 years because I was working at the same time. I was an examination officer. I was doing everything on campus. But I was sit down from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. consistently for 2 years because that is the only time I will be free. Consistently for 2 years. There were times my wife had to chase me with my food in my office. And so hard work. The next thing that I will talk about is character. You see, once you have the resilience and you have the character and you have an aim, the moment you take your eyes off your goal, all you'll see will be obstacles. I wanted to finish my PhD in a record time of 2 years. That was the goal. I never looked at the fact that I am busy doing something else.
Let's connect with that one. You said you had a goal of finishing within 2 years. So it was not accident. It's something that you planned and you worked towards.
Yes. It was planned. So if you're a young person and you are listening to me, just like you said, praying alone will not do the trick. You pray because the unbeliever is working hard. The unbeliever is working hard. And if you are not working hard, the divine part is God's. So plan. I plan towards it. In fact, when it comes, people struggle in putting their documents together for promotion. I do mine every 6 months. I work on my CV every 6 months. Because if you don't plan and you don't order yourselves, there is no way you can go through this turbulent moment. So you must plan, you must seek good counsel. I like talking to people who are experienced, who are already in the field. I have mentors across levels. I have a mentor for my academic work. I have a mentor when it comes to my spiritual life. Mm-hmm. And then I have a mentor when it comes to other areas of my life. And I take my time to listen to them because they have walked that path before. And so I go to them. For example, how could I have become a senior lecturer in a record time and all these? I went to a professor and he taught me how you can become a professor.
Great.
So right from that, I began planning. And then you remain focused. You must be focused. Other than that, Papa, in this world, you cannot make it.
So maybe one day I'll let you tell us how I can also become a professor.
Then, Papa, you have to, are you teaching in the PTS?
No. So,
because if you are not a teacher, you can't be a professor.
Or if you are not a teacher, but I can still, can't I write papers upon papers outside of the academic environment and still become a professor? Must I be a lecturer to become a professor?
No, you must be a teacher because it is not a degree that is conferred. You must teach. You are promoted into a department. So if you want to be a professor, you either join Pentecost University or the PTS and start teaching.
So you mean every young person listening to me must teach to become a professor?
Yes, you cannot. It's being a professor is a rank, is promotion.
All right. Okay. If any of my friends, if you have a question, you are more than welcome to indicate your hand up. And I can see my hand is already up. Very soon I'll ask a question and think about it. You've had an interaction, as you said, you have a kind of a relationship with WAEC. What is the missing link? Why do we have young people excelling in academics, getting very good grades in WAEC or examinations, but when they come to the corporate world, when they come to the field, we don't seem to see their first-class academic status having relevance or showing forth in their work ethics? Is there a missing link? Think about it, and I want you to share. Note it down, and I want to share. So, Matilda, let's get your question.
Thank you, Apostle, and thank you, Prof, for your inspiring story. So, what I want to know is that when you came to know Christ and He accelerating your life for you, how has that affected the other members of your family? You mentioned you were the first in your family to complete the basic school. So how has your life through Christ and all that, the hard work that you are doing, how has it affected the rest of your siblings? Thank you.
Thank you very much. As I indicated, I'm the fifth. So unfortunately, those at the top had grown up already. So when it comes to going back to school, that was not possible. But their siblings I have currently taken good, their children, we are supporting them and they are on track. They are on track. But one remarkable thing that has happened ever since I became a Christian is my father. My father was a naturalist. He never believed. In fact, when he heard I was even a Scripture Union president, he said there is no wise person in secondary school because he doesn't believe in even the Bible stories.
Let's go. He said there was no what? There's no
wise person in the secondary school. That is why they made me the Scripture Union, and that I should stop even reading the Old Testament because there is no way that people could even walk through the Red Sea, because as you go down, he was using science. He went to Achimota, so he was quite brainy, and so he became too natural, more or less like an atheist. He had joined lodges and all that, so he didn't know Christ at all. I remember I spoke to him about Christ, and I asked him, to join church. And he went there, and at the place he went to, they had brought an overseer who was a very young man. My father came back and said, he's older than that pastor, so he cannot go to that church for that pastor to be advising him, because even he was thinking that I'm older than the pastor, so why should he go to that church? But today, by the grace of God, my father is actively involved in the Church of Pentecost.
We thank God. Glory
He
to God.
is the one, sometimes when I am down, he is the one who will call me and ask that we pray. And that so I can say that God, through me, has brought my father to Christ, and now
Amen.
he's on fire for Christ in the Church of Pentecost. My other students, we have spoken to them. The last one is a big challenge, but we are still praying with him. I have asked Bantama Assembly Presiding Elder to be on him, and so we are still praying. We are still praying that God will touch him one of these days.
All right.
All right.
Apostle, can I go ahead and ask my question?
Sure.
All right. So, Prof, I just want to thank you for sharing your story. Your story is indeed one of those stories that establishes us and then keep us aligned that when it is impossible with men, with God, it is possible. Again, also thank you for reinforcing one of the principles or personal philosophies that I've always adhered to, and it is about planning. Prayer, not everything is all about prayer. And sometimes when you're communicating to people and you tell them that, look, when God in the beginning told Adam that dominate and rule, there was nothing like a born again believer. There was nothing like that. So that's the reason why the world, the unbelievers, they are dominating, because when God said rule, is for every man, every woman. So even though when it comes to the New Testament, a born again Christian, we have a higher realm of getting access to certain things, because Bible says in like Mark 4:11, unto us is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom. We need to be able to understand some of these things. But thank you again for reinforcing that. Now I want to take a departure from this and ask one of the questions that it keep coming to me all the time. When I saw your poster, and I know you're coming from University of Mining, is that UMatt in
Yes.
mining?
Yes.
Good. All right. So back in Ghana, when I come to Ghana, I see a lot of documents about capacity building, and when they say capacity building, what they're trying to mean is that we need to be able to hone our skill set, build ourselves up, so that we'll be able to be at the front row seat or be in charge of some of the things that we do in the country. So moving away from that, the mining industry, God has blessed us. We have gold, we have diamond, we have manganese, we have all of these things. And I believe the school, the University of UMatt, have been positioned, and maybe the mission for even maybe establishing that university was just so we will build our capacity, so that we will be in charge. When Nkrumah said the black man is capable of managing his own affairs, it was not for any reason, it was for a good reason. So what is it that we have not been able to build our capacity with all these universities, with all these institutions out there training people? Why is it that we are not able to be at the front row seat of of mining? All the time we have to go all out to different countries, call them to come in and do this, and then they're taking advantage of us. They're taking our minerals away. Switzerland, they don't produce any cocoa, they don't do anything, but they make almost about $109 billion annually from chocolate. What can we do, Prof, that will essentially bridge what the academic thing and then the practical thing? And I think Apostle was about saying something in similar, thought or maybe direction. What can we do to bridge the academic to actually a practical way of, we actually taking responsibility, taking actions and executing, and, not these white people coming in every now and then and taking advantage of our minerals and all of that. What are you going to say about this, Prof? What must we do?
Thank you very much for your observation. But I can assure you that when it comes to capacity in Ghana, we have the capacity to manage our resources. When you come to the mining companies around, most often people confuse two issues. We have the small scale and then we have the large scale. The problem we have is the small scale mining. But when it comes to the large scale, we have trained people. All the large scale mining are being controlled by Ghanaians. However, the problem we have, mining is capital intensive. I can see your problem. I can understand your problem. That why are we allowing white foreigners to come in? The simple fact is that we do not have the resources, the financial capacity to run these huge capital intensive mining operations. And so we cannot say they shouldn't come. However, if Ghanaians out there who have the resources and have the capacity to generate money to fund the process, because everything we have in Ghana here, it is Ghanaians who are controlling. Most of our students are even in Australia working. Most of our students are handling some of these things. So the capacity is there. The only problem we have is with the small scale. And once unemployment is huge, then you have a lot of these young people. Hey, they must also survive. They will run into the virgin forest and begin to deplete the environment. And that is what we see. But when it comes to the large scale, which is well regulated by the mineral laws and environmental laws, we are okay. We are okay. But it is all about the capital investment. And so if Ghanaians are ready to venture into mining environment, then these gold and other products that comes out will stay with us. Other than that, the equation will still tilt in the Africa.
And I think it's the same trend when it comes to the oil industry, right?
Yes,
right.
It's the same trend. We don't have the capital.
And I'm just thinking, what is our challenge? Why are we struggling with money like that? What is the challenge? Because I'm sure we know from history that nations, I don't know, we keep saying it, because the South Korea, the Singapore, I'm not sure they had lots of money, but they were able to turn their situation. And look, and things are happening. I recall in 87, 88, up to around 91 thereabout, when I went to China. To be honest with you, China wasn't in the 80s, wasn't any place to write home about. I mean, when you go there, even when you look at their dressing, if you look at their manners and all those things, we even thought we were better than them. But look at, now they are coming here to control our finances. Why? What is the challenge? Still, I'm not sure we'll be able to answer that question. Yes, we have the skill. Yes, we have the people. Why are we not getting the money to do all these things? And nations that were somehow like us now have the money.
Yeah, Papa, I'm going to be blunt on this one.
Let me add this. So in answering your questions, how can we as Christians break that yoke of poverty so that we will not only have dominion in preaching the gospel, but we'll also have dominion in managing these financial empires so that we can support those who are in the frontline ministry. So what is the money challenge, and how can we as Christians take advantage of that?
Yeah, Papa, thank you very much. Without sounding more political, because for those of us who are in academic field, we speak.
But you see, as for Ghana, even when you don't sound political,
depending on the angle where you stand, they will push you to one corner. But the general statement I want to make is this: I think that democracy has not helped Africa. When you look at even the China example you gave, it's a communist state. And so they could come together and say, this is the direction we are going. But the one we are practicing in Ghana, we call it Kebi Mamin Kebi. That is all we have reduced the democracy to. And so every morning, everybody is talking on the radio. Instead of us coming together to say, look, this is the quantum of resources we have. That is the level we can get to. And therefore, let us concentrate on the little we can, amass resources together, and move in that direction, grow everything in Ghana, eat what we can, and can what we cannot. Having said this, Christians must begin to come together. We are too divided.
Yeah. I mean, are you talking about Christians as churches or Christians as business entities?
Baba, those in the church, they are too, I call it church ballistic. It's like they are too inward thinking. It's church ballism. And so if I am not in the Pentecost church,
okay,
I don't see why I should connect with the Christian who is in the Methodist church.
Yeah.
So that we can team up and move forward. By the grace of God, I belong to the political chamber. And the strategy our friends in the Muslim world, how they are able to mass up, support each other. They plan to take over London as a mayor. They work together. But when it comes to the Christendom, we are inward looking. We are not ready to pull our resources together to move. And that for me is the major problem we have.
Okay. And that's the paradox when looking at the commandment of Jesus that we may all be one. And if the churches can come together, if Christians, I mean, Pentecost, Methodist, Presby, whether we go to whichever church, can come pull resources together, pull businesses together, then we can go far. I honestly, I have a bit of challenge. I've seen Adama very soon. I'll allow him to ask this question, but I have a bit of challenge with those of you, okay, not purely academic area, but those who are business lecturers who teach about entrepreneurship and teaching that start your own business, start your own business, start your own business. I don't think we are really teaching it within a proper context, because at the end of the day, if everybody is to start his own business, so somebody is working with you and the person is thinking of starting his own, he starts, I start, somebody, I get 2 employees, 3 employees, the employee wants to be an entrepreneur, so he also starts. We don't have a culture of people pulling talents, pulling resources together to build empires, to build strong forces. Somebody works for you and I need to be an entrepreneur, so he starts. Why that entrepreneur, independent mentality? Why are we not, yes, we teach entrepreneurship, but why are we not teaching people to team up, to partner in integrity and faithfulness? I'll think about that question and then you come up. Remember, I have 2 questions you have to respond to.
Yes.
One is that, why are we writing passing exams so well, chew and poor, and yet when we come to action, you see a university graduate, and I recall I was relating with somebody who is done accounts at the university, and he couldn't keep simple books. He's done account to first degree, and he couldn't put what is the missing link, and then why that paradox when Jesus said we should be one. We are not trying to be one. And then in teaching, we talk about entrepreneur, be on your own, instead of teaming up. So put those questions down. Amma, please, can we have your question?
Apostle, good evening. And thank you, Prof. Yeah. My actually is something I think you spoke my mind, and I really wanted to just make a comment on 1 or 2. And I think this democracy thing has something that I have always been talking about, that I think that Africans, democracy actually hasn't helped us. And even the concept of money itself, as to who actually introduced economics. I mean, money itself, being a factor in most of the things that we do itself, hasn't helped us. And I think, of course, Adam Smith's time, and it goes all the way back. And so there is a book, when you read, the writer said, give me the money and I will control the city. On that, then the question of as to why are we not at the forefront of some of these companies that Prof was talking about. I mean, the whole thing comes back to as to whether you have the resources. And the resource, I mean the money. And for instance, what Prof was talking about, the issue of you going to mining being capital intensive. I mean, that is the issue. The question is as to whether do we have the money to really go in there as shareholders and say that then we will control who will be at the forefront. And the thing is that that's the gospel fact, we don't have it.
No,
so
but
the conversation now as to...
So, Adama, so the question is, why are we not getting the money? Yes,
Yeah,
we know it's
Apostle,
a money issue, but why are we not getting the money?
Apostle, I think that is what I'm saying, that Prof has answered the question. For me, that's why I say the economist itself, the person who actually brought money. You see, when we're practicing the barter system, it would have been better for us. Now somebody said money, paper, and he has introduced few of it, and everybody is fighting. In fact, you'll be surprised that recently I spoke to one big man, and the man said, Stephen, for me, when it comes to money, if even I have to kill my wife, I will kill. Apostle, I'm just telling you, it's a big man. He's a big man. So whoever introduced that thing called money, the economist money, has even worried human being itself in the first place. So everybody is fighting for it. You see, so it's a big issue. It's a big concept.
Okay, but
and I think
the point is that whatever it is, money has been introduced. Money is what is running the system. So still begging the question, why are we not getting the money? And I'm trying to see if together as a team, let's get it clear for our audience. It is not only for Prof to respond. As I always say, it's not a typical question and answer session. It's just that he will lead the discussion, he will share a story. But if you're on the platform and you want to give an input, you are more than welcome to give an input. I've seen Adaboite, a very experienced financial consultant, so he may want to also help us. I've seen Adose Jamra. I'm still trying to get an answer. Why are we not getting the money? How do we break through on that? So, Stephen, maybe, you've not finished. I just interjected, so you can still continue.
Yeah, so I think the conversation will still have to keep on going as to how do we also create our own wealth to be able to take advantage of some of these things going on in our system so that we can command. And for me, the mining, until we command some level of resources to really go in there in the form of money, we can control it. The whites will continue to control it because they have the money, and they will continue to say, give me the money and I will control the city.
All right. That's a good one. I feel that, yeah.
I think that it is mistrust.
Mistrust.
Because sometimes I feel we don't practice Christianity very well that much. And so there is so much mistrust among ourselves that Christians cannot pool their resources together. Because I believe that if we will pull the resources together, we will be able to make a headway. So the reason why we are unable to pull the resources together is mistrust, this so-called partnership. By the time you realize your own, look, I have seen a lot of Church of Pentecost businesses, and I'm sure, Apostle, you know some. Yeah. We've lost even one. Yeah. Elder Swansea is an example. Elder Swansea, the late Elder Swansea.
Okay.
And then we have Elder Owusu. There are a lot of Pentecost businessmen. Yeah. They want to pull church members, the youth together. They are lazy. They don't want to work hard, and they will help you to collapse your business.
They will help you to collapse your business.
Yes. A lot of our people, and when it comes to pulling the resources together, we are a bit hesitant in engaging even our fellow Christians to come on board. I can see Elder Boate. I think he wants to make a contribution.
Yeah. When you finish, I've seen him, so I'll call him. I've also seen Elder Sejam. I want to take his take on these things. I really want, yes, we want the gospel to be preached. Yes, we want Christians to go to heaven. But let us make all the impact here on earth for the few years that we're going to spend. And then we'll have the whole of eternity to enjoy our blessings with the Lord. So, Prof, I don't know if you finished. I think we can take another boy thing. Or you still want to make some input?
Yeah. Maybe let me just clear one of the questions and then Elder Boate can come in.
All right, sure.
You know, you were talking about why is it that we are teaching entrepreneurship and yet you don't see some of these graduate practices. I will speak for my university. I won't attempt to speak for the other universities. But in UMAT, we are different. If a UMAT product is unemployed and he's still staying at home, then I will classify him to be a very lazy person. I think, Apostle, your brother is a typical example.
Yeah.
He was trained in my, he was trained in my department as a surveyor. and he's been fending for himself ever since. We train our students with a practical touch.
You are very confident of you, Martin.
I tell you, I am extremely confident because of the way we train our students. And I am saying that your brother is a testimony.
Okay.
I am using your brother. People say we look alike, so he's also my junior brother.
Yeah, sure. He is a good testimony anyway. I just hope that he's not one of, but quite a number of the human friends.
I have PhD candidates who are fending for themselves in this university. Ever since they finished school, they've worked for themselves. Could you believe that my own vice chancellor asked me to contact your brother for employment for a student? And it is not just him. We have a lot of them.
Great.
Doing
All right,
so, if the youth will not be lazy, I am sure the other universities are giving them entrepreneurial skills. All we can do at the university is to teach them the skills. It is up to them to apply them. But I can tell you, a lot of these our youth are lazy. They simply don't want to get their hands dirty. I am a professor, but I still go to the field to do survey work. I still engage myself with survey works which I sign. In the midst of all the business skills, so the youth must get their hands dirty. They must go to the field. And if we fail to do that, hey, they will form unemployment association.
Unemployment association. All right, let's take Prof. I said Prof. Let's take the boy take.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. It's been wonderful listening to you and this testimony. I think these are the testimonies we want to hear. And I'm glad to know that you are an old boy of Tamale, because I was also in Tamale Secondary School. And I got saved through the scripture, you know. You play back my golden days. Yeah. Damascus.
Which house?
And it's good. I wish that the young ones will listen to such inspiring testimonies to prepare them for the future. On the issues that you have touched, I'll touch on the question Pastor put across, why no money? But I'll make a comment and re-emphasize a very important point you made on the issue of planning. It's a very critical point of success in life. Planning. You see, we are Christians. In fact, you mentioned rightly that there are two wings of our success, our role and the role of God. We have a major role to play. It's like a farmer. A successful farmer cannot sit in his house and pray, let maize grow on my farm, and then a miracle appear, and maize will come on the farm. The farmer will have to go and plant. And then the blessings of God will be upon the effort of the farmer. I think that's very important, that we have a part to play. We need to work, plan and work hard, and God will bless. That is a very important point we cannot extent of why not the money. I have 2 points to make. The first thing is that we are victims of circumstances. Victims. We are now victims. We become victims. It's quite difficult right now. For instance, he's talking about mines. It will take billions of dollars to really invest in mines. Now, technology keeps on changing. It keeps on going forward. Keep on going forward. So even when you are building your billions to be able to go in, those who began it have gone ahead. And it keeps you on quite difficult to generate that cash to hit to pass that level of technology. But so it's we're victim of circumstances. It's difficult to catch up. It will be difficult. That's the reality, to catch up. But in a very small way too, we can do something. We are not able to get it because of our character. the inherent character, lack of saving culture, lack of savings culture, to be able to save. In other words, to decide that, people, even though they call it hand to mouth, but I want to say that no matter how much you are taking, if you want to save some money, you will be able to save it.
Good.
No matter, it's only the culture, the mind to save. Anybody listening to me, supposing for argument's sake, 5 years ago, you began to save 10 cedis every month. 5 years ago, 10 cedis every month. You decided to save 10 cedis every month. Multiply 5 years, 10 cedis every month, 5 years, and see what you have had today. So the point is our mind to save, a desire to save, that should be part of us. But unfortunately, for some of us, even as soon as we get money for it, something that's, workers who get, let's say all of us, those who are listening to me, you have monthly salary. You have been living normally. But as soon as there's one day at the end of the certain time, there's a bonus given to you, boom. As soon as the bonus lands in your hand, then you see that you have 5 fingers. I need that. But in the meantime, before that bonus came, you were living.
Yeah.
So Pastor, the problem is savings. The culture of savings in people. We consume. And that is why we are not able to make the money.
Somebody gets a business going, and all of a sudden he changes his car, changes his watch, changes his builds a big mansion.
Exactly.
So
because
what?
Pastor,
When I think about,
if you want to go back, Pastor, if you want to go back to Europe, how they began? How did they begin to build their capacity, financial capacity? They were farmers, but they saved. They saved and invested in the savings, and the savings built up, and now they are controlling the world. So I think that culture, let's begin to change, to save. Some of us are old now, we are now going. But the young ones hear me and begin to save.
So the young ones, Sharon from Kenya, Michael, let us all try and save and change the narrative. I don't know whether it is on the search. I'm always on that. If he has an input on.
Yeah, thank you, Apostle, and thank you, Prof. and Adabuete for your contributions. But I think that one of the problems we're facing in Africa, and especially West Africa, is the cost of capital. A lot of this capital, yes, it's too high. Until recently in Ghana, we were borrowing beyond 30% per annum. A lot of the businesses that come and invest in areas like mining in Africa, for instance, prepares their business plans, go to their banks, and they are able to raise billions. We are not able to do that. India's economic recovery is as a result of Indians living in the West, Europe and Americas. They were able to raise a lot of capital to go in there and establish businesses. But India has a very high savings culture, as Daboete said. Now, in most countries in Europe, they have so much money in the bank that, I mean, costs of borrowing is so low.
Let me start again. Yeah, me. I can't hear it.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that is one of our major businesses. The venture capital companies out there comes in to help. But over here, we have a venture capital fund, which is controlled by government, and they don't even have money. In the year, we don't give them more than 100 million to even give it out for young guys who want to establish businesses. So that is where our problem is. But on the saving culture, we can start from the church. We should be able to encourage our young guys to be able to start saving, no matter how small it is. What about those who are not working, but they eat? And so once we are working, we should be able to save. Thank you.
Great input there. Stephen, is your hand up again?
Apostle. Yes, Apostle. I thank you so much. I think this forum is very good for us to discuss on issues, and then we'll learn, probably see best we can make life better. Apostle, as I said, you have raised a very important question, and I just want to use a minute to touch on it of cost of capital. Now, a Ghanaian over here will not save as about this. The Ghanaian will not, but the Ghanaian will go for a loan, and the Ghanaian attitude is that he will not pay the loan. So the Ghanaian take and that pay, and it becomes what we call non-performing loans. That's one very serious issue for the bank. And when you and I, who can pay, go for the loan, we will have to pay that loan that person hasn't paid. And so cost of capital, until we change our attitude that, yes, we need to change our attitude. Until we change our attitude that won't go for loan, we'll pay, that will continue to be very high in this jurisdiction. And that one, I think you'll be amazed, Christians who go for loans and they don't pay. I kind of, look, if you are privy to data, you will see that, Christians, you will see them all the time walking around. You go for a loan and will not pay. And somebody's deposits that he has taken to a bank, you have gone for that loan. All these banks that collapse, there are people who took loan and didn't pay. Most of them are Christians. I pray that. So I think we are all learning. Yes, I think we are all learning. And I think that's what I'm saying, that this platform is very good. So we don't save. We go for loans and we not pay too. So how do we then be able to get cheap capital for development? If you have a brilliant idea.
Let's take lessons from this and pay our loans if we go for it.
Maybe rehash on my earlier point. I think a lot of comments have come after that, but the point really that I was making is that if we are very intentional about the success of this country, we can do it. It's the same thing with, I'll give you a critical example, the free SHS. Everybody said there was no money to fund it. Okay, now there was no money. Everybody, opposition party, politicians, everybody, opinion leaders, think tanks, everybody was saying, hey, we don't have money, we don't have money. But guess what? When there is a will, there is a way. The president said, I'm still going to go ahead and fund, get started with this free SHS. And guess what? This, September, 350,000 students will be coming out, graduating from high school. That's remarkable. It's the same thing with our mining, concessions, or with our mining industry, or whatever industry we have. If there is a will that, look, we are going to take care of our own stuff, and this is not to sound maybe nativist thinking. This is not like a nativist thinking that let us do it on our own, or maybe like a socialist type of thing. And even if it is a socialist thing, I don't even care about it. We need to be able to come to a point, or at some point in our national history life, we need to sit down and say, from this point on, just as the Chinese will not come and call you, the Chinese will not come and call people from Africa, Ghanaians, Nigerians, that we have bauxite, or we have maybe manganese, we should do this. And then somebody said something about a partnership, and I want to say this, Apostle, there is a cure to partnership. We should be able to come together. When you come over here to the US, people come together, they do it. What do? They sign agreement. They sign contract. If you default, the person is going to see you. So
they don't bring my brother, my sister, church matter.
Yeah. It's not about church. It's not about anything. Once you sign agreement, you sign agreement.
Yeah, I want to get a perspective from other African countries. Sharon or Otaje, can you share your perspective from your angle, maybe from Kenya experience? What lessons in all this discourse you think can be brought to bear from whatever is happening in Kenya? Otaje and Coleman and Sharon, any of you want to make an input in that? All right, let's hear you, Coleman, if you want to make an input. I think your mic, please unmute your mic. Your mic is muted. Coleman, please unmute. Unmute. Your mic is muted, so we can't hear you. You are talking, but we can't hear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Now, yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I was saying, sorry, today my connection has a bit of challenge, but I'm hoping I'll be able to communicate.
Yeah.
Today's discussion is so exciting. Thank you, Apostle, and thank you, Prof, for the powerful testimony that you shared. My perspective is this, and enjoy as human beings, whether we are Christians or not, it's based on principles. And I'm glad today the principles have been discussed here. One, there has to be a burning desire to succeed. In the university, in colleges, in school, we are taught basic elements of some of these principles. But there are some personal principles that we must embrace as individuals. For example, if I want to succeed in education, I have to cultivate a burning desire to succeed. Like we've seen demonstrated by the life of Prof. He said that he had planned that after 2 years, he will be through with his PhD. And that's exactly what he did. And I think that is a good one. Number two, I've also got from this panel today that there's a place for proper planning. Much as we are Christians, we pray, we read the Bible, we go to church, we do all that. But when it comes to success in our individual venture, there has to be good aspects of planning. Three, for any and every success, there has to be an element of money in it. And if we have not cultivated the habit of saving, it is next to impossible to achieve either small, medium, or even big ventures that we want to get ourselves into. So I think that will be my my contribution for today. Thank you.
Great. Our time is almost up, but I've seen quite a bit of some young people, and I would have wished I got questions from somebody like Togbe Edem, or from Michael, or from those of you who have never been on this. Togbe, do you have something? Do you have something in mind? Is it you Edem, right?
Yes, it is Edem. Yeah, my very question that I actually wanted to put across is that moving on, when you were, growing up as a very young person, Prof, you realize that most of the time you have a particular way or a channel that you really want to go. Did you specifically wanted to be a lecturer, or some way, somehow along the way, circumstances, you became a lecturer? I just want to have that, because a couple of times you want to be a particular person in future, but some way, somehow, circumstances will make you change the direction that you really want to go. That is a question I really want to put.
All right. So after that, I'll give room to Mercy Kinoti. Is that Kinoti? To also, if she has a question or if she has any input, I'll get it from there. But Prof, did you become a professor by accident or you planned? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
The circumstance shaping you there.
It can't be by accident. It can't be. As is it Otegi or Otega from Kenya?
Yeah.
Yes. As he said, you must have a desire to succeed. So it is not by accident. There are times also certain things can come your way by accident. But that one, I will classify that as a divine intervention, that probably that was the purpose of God for your life. But for me, becoming a professor, I always knew, even in secondary school, that I wanted to teach and not to be a professor per se. I wanted to teach. I didn't know that teaching would lead me to become a professor. But when I got to the university and saw the professors and how professors are made, then I purpose in my heart and plan to execute that. Everything I have achieved, I have written them down. I have a small red book that it is only my wife and myself, and of late I have shown that book to my 2 kids, just for them to see that you need to plan and pray. So I wrote every bit of the things we've talked about, everything happening to me in my life. It's written down, and I've prayed over it, and the desire to succeed, I moved on. So it is not by accident.
All right, that's a good one. We can only take one more question, and hopefully from somebody who has not asked. Oh, okay. I'm seeing Sharon. Sharon, let's hear you out.
Yeah, I just want to thank Bernard for today's session. He has
see your face,
challenged.
or you are hiding your face, huh?
Yes, today I'm hiding my face.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I'm saying I want to thank Bernard for challenging me today. For some time, I have been planning and procrastinating, boosting my law degree. Yeah, like I've been pushing, I've been saying, I'm a parent, maybe I need to do ABCD. My child needs to get to this point before I go back to school. But now I think it's time. From what he's saying, like I need to plan myself, see what I need to do so that I can achieve what I want. Yeah, that's it.
Great. Wow, our sessions are always challenging when more questions. Michael, is your hand up? Okay, if your hand is up there, you need to unmute your mic.
Yeah, I've done that.
All right, go ahead and ask your question or make your comment.
Yeah, actually, you see, that is with my contribution is on the young people don't want to work. The young people are lazy. A lot of young people in Ghana are lazy. I also fall out from a job place. I'm an accountant. At the end of the day, I decided that, okay, fine. We have a lot of shops in Takwa who pay their GRA or their taxes, but they don't know why they are paying them. They don't keep their books properly. So then I'll go to these small shops, these small sole proprietorship, STOs and all of them, and then I'll go to them for their books to be prepared.
Yeah.
So this is, I say this is a point where you can say, although maybe you may not have too many money available to you to do them, sometimes the skills that you amass and how to practice it is very important. How to put it to play, to work. Because we go to school, we are not taught how to make money. We go to school, we come out, and now we have to make money out of what we are being taught. So it is the practicality of it that let me get my hand dirty. It is not how much you are earning, but it is how much you are spending. Because as our elders said, it doesn't matter how much you are earning, you can still save. So it is the expenditure that is important. And it means that when you are growing, when you are putting your plans down, there should be timelines to them. As to this time, have I achieved it? As to this time, have I achieved it? And don't keep your plans sometimes to yourself alone. You need somebody who is monitoring you also, so that the person can keep you sometimes in check. You can say, okay, this is what I have done. This is what I think I want to do. If the person is more close, you allow the person to mentor you. Sometimes you are putting on toll to work within timelines.
Right.
And if not, we will always continue to push our goals forward without achieving them. And that is my little contribution I want to make on that.
Great. Amazing. At least, even if for nothing, Sharon has said that he's had a change of mind. I believe lots of us here would also have a change of mind. And we will try and change the narrative, change the story of Africa. As Christians, I'm trusting that God will use such discussions to change our thinking pattern and put in us a desire to see a transformation. Before, all too soon, our time is really up. And before we leave, Prof, maybe your last word, and that has to do with speaking to somebody out there who is a professor like you, who is a chief executive officer, somebody who has achieved something in life and doesn't see the need for him or her to even give a life to Jesus. After all, he or she has all the money, he or she has all the contacts, the influence. just like you. I mean, you can take a phone and call anyone you want to call. Why should such a person give his life to Jesus Christ? Why should such a person want to have a relationship with God just as you are? In a jiffy, what would be your statement to such a person like your father before, who didn't want to have anything to do with God? What would be your last word to such a person?
Yeah, my last word to such a person, and that mostly these people are highly academic, and because of their reading around, they pretend to think that there is no God. They should look at where they came from, and that after this world, there will be judgment. And because of that judgment that awaits us, we don't know, you don't believe it, so you may not know where you are ending. But I want to recommend Jesus to them, that if they can add the Jesus factor to their life now, where they are now, they will be elevated above their current level.
Please.
So Jesus is the answer.
Jesus,
all the things we've touched on, our inability to do a lot of things, once they have Christ and the life after this world, that peace, that eternal life is the reason for our being. And so they need to hand over the rest of the successes they have into the hands of Jesus Christ to support them. And then probably what I want to say to the young folks out there, I was happy when Elabote talked about the savings. I don't joke with that aspect of it too. I say, I operate that kind of principle that you must save. You must have some level of insurance. These are practical things they can do. I have insurance. Every month I pay that one. You also have to save towards your kids' life. You don't have to leave them behind. And so you must also save for those ones also. Apart from that, they must fear God. They must seek good counsel and remain focused in everything they do. The plan they have, they must remain focused on it. So there are three things I'm leaving with the young ones. Fear God, seek good counsel, and remain focused. And I believe that God will do the rest.
And Prof believes that God will do the rest. At the end of the day, this is the essence of all this discussion and all the talking and all the engagement. If you are listening to me right now and you've not given your life to Jesus, you may be like Prof, or you may be like that toilet guy. You may be at the highest level of life, or you may be struggling. Whichever status of life you are, there is still grace for you. If you want to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, to add to your life, Prof said, to your current status, we want to give you an opportunity to accept Jesus right now. So whether you are on your sick bed, whether you are at home, whether you are driving, whether you are watching on the streets or wherever, in your office, in any part of the world, in the Western, in Africa, there's an opportunity for you today to give your life to Jesus Christ. And if you want to give your life to Jesus Christ, I want you to repeat this after me. Just say, dear Lord, I know you love me.
David.
You died for my sins. And so today, I accept you, Jesus, as my Lord and Savior. Watch over me, preserve my life, and lead my life. If you have made this simple confession of accepting Jesus as your Lord and Savior, then I can confidently tell you that your life will never be the same. May the good Lord be with you and bless you. Wherever you are, if you want to continue this journey with Christ and to have a better life for today and tomorrow, I want to encourage you to find a Bible-believing church around you. Better still, look for Church of Pentecost around closest to you. Or if you're in Accra, you can come to the Pentecost International Worship Center at ATTC. Come to our dome or connect on our virtual platform at prwcaccra.org, or you can also connect with me at ekaccra.com or any of my social media platforms at Aqua EK. Until we meet you again next week, with another explosive time. Next week is going to be another different dimension at all. We are engaging some young leaders from different parts of the world. These are young leaders, and it will be more of a dialogue within that session. We have about 4 or 5 of them who will connect with all of us, and they would engage from their experiences. So until we meet you again, Prof, I am so grateful. You brought a touch of excellence to what we are doing. Your life story is very challenging, and we thank God for the social media and for this platform. 10 years to come, 20 years to come, somebody will still come and listen to your message that you've shared today. Sometimes I go on Google and I look at things that were posted 10 years, 20 years ago and listen to them. And I believe that your testimony will be a blessing to someone, even 10, 15, 20 years to come. We are most grateful to you for pouring out your heart to us. Prof, we are grateful. And to all of you who joined us, Matilda, all of you from different parts of the world, Kenya, South Africa, wherever, US, UK, we are most grateful for you. Those of us in Ghana, Nigeria, all parts of the world, we are grateful to you for joining us and making this program what it intends to be. May the gracious hand of the Lord be upon you. So I want to say God bless you for joining us, and we're going to meet you again next week, same time at 5 p.m. But I want to encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel at EK Aqua again, and just like our pages, and so that when these messages come, it will get connected to you right away. Shall we say a very big thank you once again? And we bless the name of the Lord for your life. And until I meet you again next week, God richly bless you. It has been The Watershed with me, EK Aqua. God richly bless you.